Sirens echoed through Oakmont Preserve as 3 patrol cars screeched to a stop in front of an elegant brick home. Neighbors crowded the sidewalks, phones raised high, recording every second.
Everyone stay calm.
A little girl, no older than 8, tugged nervously on a police officer's sleeve.
That's not what happened.
No, that's not what happened.
Tell me what you saw.
Before Daniel could ask another question, an elegantly dressed woman marched toward him, her mascara streaked from fake tears.
Officer, thank goodness you're here. He became violent when I asked him to follow neighborhood rules.
That's not what happened.
Daniel glanced at the soaked decorations, overturned lawn chairs, scattered hamburger buns, and broken serving trays littering the grass. Then his eyes landed on the tall man. Recognition flashed across his face. Commissioner Marcus Bennett, the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in Ashford Heights. Marcus met Daniel's eyes but didn't move. Instead, he calmly raised both hands.
Officer, today I'm just another resident. Please investigate this exactly as you would for anyone else. You have my word.
6 hours earlier, the moving truck rolled slowly through the stone entrance of Oakmont Preserve, passing perfectly trimmed hedges and rows of luxury homes that looked almost identical, as though someone had copied and pasted them across the neighborhood. Angela Bennett leaned against the passenger window and smiled. "It's beautiful." Marcus squeezed her hand. "It finally feels real. After 30 years of service, countless sleepless nights, and decades of proving himself twice as hard as everyone else, Marcus had finally achieved 2 dreams in the same month. He had become police commissioner, and he had bought the home Angela had admired for nearly 5 years. As the truck stopped in front of their new house, Angela stepped out first. "I still can't believe this belongs to us." Marcus laughed. "You've said that 5 times. Because I'm waiting for someone to wake me up." He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "If this is a dream, let's stay asleep." Across the street, curtains shifted. Several faces peeked through windows. Some disappeared immediately. Others kept watching. Angela noticed. "I guess we're today's entertainment." Marcus smiled. "New neighbors always attract attention. You really believe that's all it is?" He looked around before answering. Within an hour, relatives arrived carrying boxes and furniture. Marcus's younger brother James balanced 2 heavy chairs on his shoulders. "You finally made it to the rich side of town," James joked. Angela laughed. "We're still making payments like everybody else." Their niece Mia ran across the lawn with excitement. "Aunt Angie, can we have a barbecue tonight?" Angela looked at Marcus. "What do you think?" Marcus grinned. "I think that's exactly how a home should be welcomed." James clapped. "I'll go grab extra charcoal." As everyone unpacked, a silver SUV stopped across the street. A woman wearing an expensive navy suit stepped out slowly. Her posture was perfect. Her smile wasn't. She crossed the road without waving. "Good afternoon." Angela extended her hand warmly. "Hello, I'm Angela Bennett." The woman glanced at Angela's hand but ignored it. "I'm Evelyn Harper." Marcus stepped forward politely. "It's nice to meet you." Evelyn looked him up and down before speaking again. "So, you're the new owners?" "We are." "This neighborhood has very high standards." "I certainly hope so." Her eyes drifted toward the moving truck. "I assume all of this activity will be over today." James frowned. "We're just moving in." Evelyn looked directly at Marcus. "Oakmont values peace and order." Marcus answered calmly. "So do I." For a brief second, neither of them spoke. Then Evelyn turned and walked away. James let out a low whistle. "Well, she seems pleasant." Angela forced a laugh. "Maybe she's just having a bad day." Marcus watched Evelyn enter her home. "Maybe." Inside that house, Evelyn closed the front door and immediately dialed a number. The phone barely rang once. "They're here," she said. A man's deep voice answered. So the commissioner finally moved in. "They're already planning some kind of party." Richard Harper sighed. "I told you this would happen. They bought the house legally. I don't care." There was silence before Richard spoke again. "Don't do anything reckless. I'm protecting this neighborhood. Just remember, cameras are everywhere." She looked through the window again. "They're making themselves very comfortable." Back outside, Angela arranged flowers near the porch while Marcus installed a small security camera above the garage. James laughed. Already expecting trouble? Marcus tightened the final screw. No. I've spent 30 years telling people evidence matters. James smiled knowingly. So you're practicing what you preach. Exactly. Angela looked over. You think that's enough? Marcus pointed toward the backyard. I'll install 3 more after dinner. You planned this before we moved? I planned for anything. As evening approached, the smell of grilled chicken filled the air. Children laughed while tossing a football across the yard. Soft jazz played from a small speaker. Nothing loud. Nothing disruptive. Exactly the kind of gathering any family might have after moving into a new home. Angela carried a tray of lemonade outside. I wish more neighbors would come over. James shrugged. Give them time. Just then, an elderly man walking his golden retriever slowed near the sidewalk. Marcus waved. Good evening. The man smiled warmly. Congratulations on the new home. Thank you. I'm Harold. Marcus. Before Harold could say another word, Evelyn appeared from nowhere. Harold. Her tone was sharp. We're discussing tomorrow's HOA meeting. Harold hesitated. I was only saying hello. We're already late. Harold looked apologetically at Marcus. Maybe another time. Marcus nodded politely. Of course. As they walked away, Harold quietly glanced back once. Angela noticed. Did you see that? Marcus sighed. I did. Minutes later, Mia came running toward Marcus holding a folded piece of paper. Uncle Marcus. What's wrong? This was on the mailbox. Marcus unfolded it. The words were typed in bold black letters. Some places are better left the way they were. Angela's smile disappeared. James clenched his fists. That's enough. Marcus quietly folded the note and slipped it into his pocket. No. James stared at him. No. We're not giving whoever did this the reaction they're hoping for. But they want anger. Angela looked into Marcus's eyes. What do we do? Marcus forced a calm smile. We finished dinner. Across the street, hidden behind partially closed blinds, Evelyn watched every second and slowly reached for her phone. Marcus slipped the anonymous note into his pocket as if it weighed nothing, but Angela could see the disappointment behind his calm expression. She knew that look. It was the same look he wore after long nights of breaking difficult news to families. Quiet, controlled, carrying more than he let anyone see. James wasn't as patient. I'm calling the police. Marcus shook his head. For a note. It isn't just a note. I know. It's intimidation. I know. So why are we standing here? Marcus looked at his younger brother. Because whoever left it wants us angry. They want us to lose control before they do. James exhaled sharply. I hate that you're right. Marcus smiled faintly. I know you do. The evening ended peacefully on the surface, but not a single member of the Bennett family forgot the message. The next morning, Angela stepped outside carrying a watering can for the flowers she had planted beside the porch. She stopped. Every flower had been uprooted and tossed across the lawn. The fresh soil had been kicked over, leaving muddy footprints across the stone walkway. Marcus, she called. Marcus hurried outside. What happened? For several seconds, Marcus simply stared. James arrived moments later after dropping off another box. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Angela knelt and gently picked up one of the crushed flowers. I planted these yesterday. Marcus crouched beside her. We'll replant them. They'll just destroy them again. Then we'll plant them again. Angela looked at him. How do you stay this calm? Marcus smiled softly. Because if I let someone else's bitterness decide who I become, then they've already won. Across the street, Evelyn watched from behind her living room curtains with a satisfied smile. Her phone buzzed. It was Richard. Any progress? He asked. They're still here. I told you they wouldn't leave over one little incident. I'm just getting started. Evelyn. They need to understand they made a mistake buying that house. Richard was silent for a long moment. Just don't make one you'll regret. She ended the call without answering. By noon, another problem appeared. Marcus rolled the trash bins toward the curb. Less than 5 minutes later, Evelyn marched across the street carrying a tape measure. Angela blinked. Is she serious? Evelyn measured the distance between the trash bin and the sidewalk. Marcus folded his arms. Can I help you? Marcus looked down. They're about 11. Exactly. I'll move them. She smiled triumphantly. I've already documented the violation. Marcus gently slid the bin forward by an inch. There. She snapped another photograph. You should really read the neighborhood handbook. Marcus nodded politely. I will. As Evelyn walked away, Angela whispered, I've never seen anyone measure someone's garbage. Marcus chuckled. There's a first time for everything. 3 days passed. The complaints multiplied. One email claimed Marcus's porch light was too bright. Another insisted guests parked too close to the sidewalk. Someone complained that children had laughed too loudly in the afternoon. Angela stared at the printed notices spread across the kitchen table. This can't be real. Marcus sipped his coffee. It is. Do these people have nothing better to do? Before he could answer, his phone rang. It was Officer Daniel Ruiz. Good morning, Commissioner. Morning, Daniel. I wanted to make sure everything's all right. Marcus smiled. Why wouldn't it be? We've received 4 anonymous complaints from Oakmont Preserve in the last 48 hours. What kind of complaints? Daniel cleared his throat. Suspicious activity. Marcus frowned. What suspicious activity? Walking around your own property. Angela looked at Marcus in disbelief. Daniel continued. One caller reported an unknown man entering the Bennett residence. That unknown man was me. I figured. Daniel's voice became more serious. Sir, are you being harassed? Marcus looked out the kitchen window toward Evelyn's house. I don't know yet. You don't sound convinced. I'm convinced of one thing. What's that? The truth doesn't need my help. It only needs time. Daniel smiled. I'll keep an eye on things. No special treatment. I understand. That afternoon, Angela drove to a nearby grocery store. When she returned, she noticed Evelyn standing beside the driveway taking pictures of her car. Angela stepped out. Excuse me? Evelyn didn't lower the phone. Your vehicle crossed the driveway line. The tire barely touched a painted edge. I can fix that. I've already submitted the violation. Angela inhaled slowly. Mrs. Harper. It's Evelyn. Evelyn, have I done something to offend you? Evelyn lowered her phone just enough to meet Angela's eyes. No. Then why are you doing this? I'm protecting the standards of this neighborhood. Angela's voice trembled slightly. From what? Evelyn looked around before answering. From change. Without another word, she walked away. That evening, Angela sat quietly on the back porch. Marcus joined her carrying 2 cups of tea. She accepted one but didn't drink it. I'm tired. Marcus nodded. I know. No. She looked at him with tears beginning to form. I'm not physically tired. I'm emotionally tired. Marcus reached for her hand. I dreamed about this house. So did I. I imagined birthday parties. So did I. I imagined grandchildren running around the yard. Marcus smiled gently. So did I. Angela wiped away a tear. I never imagined wondering whether opening my front door would become another battle. Marcus squeezed her hand. I'm sorry. You have nothing to apologize for. I brought you here. You brought me home. She looked toward the fence separating their property from Evelyn's. I just wish home felt like home. Marcus remained silent for several moments. Then he spoke softly. It will. How can you be so sure? Because hateful people eventually run out of lies. They always need a new one. Angela leaned her head against his shoulder. I hope you're right. Across the fence, hidden by carefully trimmed hedges, Evelyn listened. A cold smile crossed her face. The following Saturday, Angela decided they wouldn't let fear steal another happy memory. "We're having the neighborhood cookout." James grinned. "That's my sister-in-law." Marcus smiled. "Anyone who wants to come is welcome." Angela spent the afternoon preparing homemade peach cobbler, grilled vegetables, and fresh lemonade. The aroma drifted across Oakmont Preserve. Some neighbors slowed as they walked past. A young couple smiled politely. A retired teacher waved. Even Harold started walking toward the gate with his golden retriever. Before he reached it, Evelyn intercepted him. "Where are you going?" "They invited everyone." "You actually plan to go?" Harold frowned. "They're our neighbors." "They won't be for long." Harold looked confused. "What does that mean?" Evelyn smiled without answering. Instead, she reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and quietly dialed a number. "Hello," she said calmly. "I'd like to report a neighborhood disturbance." She glanced across the street at children laughing in Marcus's backyard. "Yes. They're causing a serious disruption." She paused, listening. Then a slow smile spread across her face. "I think you should send officers immediately." She ended the call, slipped the phone back into her purse, and turned toward her backyard. A green garden hose lay coiled beside the fence. She picked it up, slowly turned the faucet, and water began rushing through the hose as she marched toward the Bennett family's backyard. Marcus looked up just as Evelyn stepped onto his lawn, gripping the spraying hose with both hands. The first powerful stream of water blasted across the table, sending plates, drinks, and Angela's homemade cobbler crashing onto the ground. Angela gasped. "Evelyn, what are you doing?" Children screamed and scattered as the water swept across the yard. James dropped the tray he was carrying. "Have you lost your mind?" Marcus took one step forward, raising his voice just enough to be heard. "Everyone, stay calm. Nobody touch her." But Evelyn wasn't finished. She swung the hose toward the blazing grill, then toward Angela. Angela barely had time to raise her arms before the powerful stream slammed into her chest. She staggered backward, her shoes losing traction on the soaked patio. "Angela!" Marcus shouted. She slipped. Her wrist struck the edge of a stone planter before she crashed onto the ground. A sharp cry escaped her lips. Marcus instinctively rushed toward her, but stopped himself halfway. Every eye in the neighborhood was on him. Every phone was recording. Instead, he knelt beside his wife. "Don't move." Angela clenched her teeth. "My wrist." "I know." James spun toward Evelyn, fury written across his face. "You've gone too far." Evelyn immediately pointed the hose at him. "Stay back." Children cried as parents hurried them toward the house. Harold grabbed his golden retriever's leash and shielded a frightened little boy behind him. Marcus looked at James. "Don't." James stared at him. "Marcus." "I said don't." "But she hurt Angela." "I know." Marcus slowly turned toward Evelyn. His voice remained steady. "Mrs. Harper, put the hose down. You don't tell me what to do. I'm asking you. You people always think the rules don't apply to you." Marcus inhaled slowly. "The only rule I'm asking you to follow is to stop hurting innocent people." Instead of answering, Evelyn threw the hose onto the lawn. Then, with surprising speed, she pulled out her phone. 911, what's your emergency?" Her voice instantly changed. Panicked. Fragile. Convincing. "Please hurry." She pretended to sob. "My neighbor became aggressive. I was afraid for my life." James looked at Marcus in disbelief. "She's lying while we're standing right here." Marcus quietly replied, "Let her finish." Within minutes, sirens echoed through Oakmont Preserve. Several patrol cars arrived. Officer Daniel Ruiz stepped out first. He immediately noticed Angela sitting on the patio, cradling her swollen wrist. Then he noticed Marcus. Then Evelyn. Daniel took a slow breath. "Separate everyone." The officers immediately spread out. One officer approached Marcus. "Sir, could you step over here?" Marcus nodded without argument. Another officer checked on Angela. An ambulance was requested. Evelyn hurried toward Daniel before anyone could stop her. There he is. She pointed dramatically at Marcus. He threatened me in front of everyone. Daniel remained expressionless. What exactly happened? He rushed toward me screaming. James couldn't stay silent. That's a lie. Daniel held up his hand. Sir, you'll have your turn. Evelyn continued. He said he'd make me regret moving here. Daniel looked at Marcus. Commissioner. Marcus calmly answered. My name is Marcus Bennett. Daniel understood immediately. Marcus wasn't speaking as the police commissioner. He was speaking as a citizen. I'll answer every question, Marcus continued, but I won't ask for special treatment. Daniel nodded. You have my word. Just then, 8-year-old Emma stepped forward, clutching her mother's hand. She looked nervous. Officer. Daniel knelt to her level. Hi, Emma. Mrs. Harper sprayed everybody. Her mother quickly pulled her back. Emma. No, Mom. The little girl's voice shook. She knocked Mrs. Bennett down. Silence spread across the yard. Daniel smiled gently. Thank you. He stood and turned toward another officer. Collect every phone recording. Marcus quietly added. And check my security cameras. Evelyn's confident expression disappeared for the first time. You don't need those. Marcus looked at her. I think we do. Minutes later, an officer returned carrying a small tablet connected to Marcus's security system. Daniel watched the footage. Nobody spoke. The recording showed everything. Evelyn walking onto the property, turning on the hose, spraying guests, destroying food, knocking Angela to the ground, making the 911 call, then pretending to cry. Daniel replayed one section twice, then a third time. Finally, he lowered the tablet. Mrs. Harper. She swallowed. Yes. You're under arrest. Her face turned pale. What? You have the right to remain silent. This is ridiculous. Daniel continued reading her rights. She pointed wildly toward Marcus. He's the police commissioner. He's making you do this. Daniel calmly interrupted. No. He held up the tablet. This is. As another officer placed handcuffs on Evelyn, Richard Harper's black sedan pulled into the neighborhood. He jumped out. Evelyn. She looked at him desperately. Richard, tell them. Richard approached Daniel. There must be some misunderstanding. Daniel looked at him. Were you aware your wife made a false emergency report? Richard hesitated. James stepped forward. You'd better answer carefully. Marcus gently touched James's shoulder. Let the investigation do its job. An investigator approached Daniel holding a folder. Sir. What is it? We checked previous calls connected to this address. Daniel opened the file. His eyebrows lifted. 12 false emergency complaints over the past 4 years. The investigator nodded. Most involved delivery drivers, contractors, and minority visitors. Harold lowered his head. I should have spoken up years ago. Linda Chun, who had been standing quietly near the sidewalk, finally stepped forward. I have something to say. Everyone turned toward her. Linda took a deep breath. I've seen this happen before. Evelyn stared at her. Linda. No. Linda's voice cracked. I'm done pretending. She looked at Daniel. She made my family sign complaints we didn't agree with. What? She told us if we refused, she'd make sure the HOA fined us. Tears rolled down Linda's face. I stayed quiet because I was scared. Marcus looked at her kindly. It takes courage to speak. I'm sorry. You don't owe me an apology. I do. No. Marcus smiled gently. You owe yourself the chance to do what's right. Linda broke down crying. Harold slowly walked over and stood beside Marcus. So do I. Marcus shook his hand. I'm glad you're here. Angela returned from the ambulance with her wrist secured in a brace. She walked straight toward Linda. Without saying a word, she hugged her. Linda cried even harder. I'm so sorry. Angela whispered. Let's build something better from today. 3 weeks later, Oakmont Preserve looked different. Not because the houses had changed, because the people had. Several residents gathered in the community park, carrying folding chairs and homemade food. Children laughed together. Harold grilled hamburgers. Linda organized games. Angela announced a free weekend reading club for neighborhood children. Nearly every seat filled. Marcus stood quietly beneath a young oak tree planted near the entrance of the park. James joined him. "You know." Marcus smiled. "What?" "I wanted revenge." "I know." "I'm glad I listened to you." Marcus looked toward families talking together. "Justice lasts longer than revenge." James laughed. "You always have one of those speeches ready." Marcus smiled. "Occupational hazard." Angela walked over, her wrist healing well. "What are you two whispering about?" James grinned. "I'm admitting your husband was right." Angela laughed. "Mark this date on the calendar." Everyone laughed together. As the afternoon sun settled over Oakmont Preserve, Marcus looked around at neighbors who had once avoided eye contact but were now sharing tables, conversations, and meals. Healing hadn't happened overnight. Trust hadn't magically returned. But someone had finally taken the first step. Sometimes, that was enough. If this story reminded you that dignity is stronger than hatred and truth is stronger than lies, take a moment to like this video so more people can discover stories that inspire hope. Subscribe for more powerful stories every week, and in the comments, tell us this. If you had been one of the neighbors that day, would you have spoken up immediately, or do you think fear would have kept you silent? Because every community is shaped not only by the people who do wrong, but also by the people who choose to do what's right when it matters most. The end.